This is Jeremiah. Welcome. Let's continue with Romans, Paul the Apostle, book number 46. And that is Paul called to be a servant, called to be an apostle, called to be a bond slave. So he's called. He's emphasizing being called, but not necessarily being chosen. Paul is very good about keeping track of being called and chosen and faithful. He doesn't declare himself having finished the race. And a lot of people I've talked to recently, they are declaring themselves as winners of the race. But it's basically, as long as they're still alive, the race is still underfoot. As they say in England, tally ho the fox. You still have to get out there, and you have to be energized and concentrate on the prize. And a lot of Bible teachers I've talked to in my life, they told me that they've already won the prize. And that's not true. You've won the prize if you continue, as Paul told Thessalonians, since we're talking about Paul today again. He said, for we now live if we, there's the word if again. Now, one of the main things that I emphasize in this ministry, and that is under category 10, and this is Jeremiah with New Covenant. We're emphasizing 1 through 10 and 10 through 20 right now. That's what we're going to hammer home in the next 100 videos. And we will expand as it goes on. Now, I did put 42 in here and a few others, but that's basically it for now. We're going to start hammering home 1 through 10, and that's going to take a little while. We just about got that done. Okay? So that we can start referring to 1 through 10 throughout this ministry. I reference 23 a lot, which is Jordan. I reference 24, which is, this is a war. I mentioned the greater grace, talking about grace further, from the Fantastic Four, the fourth playlist. So this is going to get a little technical, but it's going to help all of us out. You know, I put these 52 principles up here, or categories or playlists, for a reason, so that we can start hammering home when we read through the Bible, we can find out where we are. And we're in Romans today. This is Jeremiah with New Covenant. We greet you in the only name mentioned, given amongst men. Somebody knocked on my door here years ago and said I needed another name. I told them, would you kindly leave the premises? They didn't like me telling them that, as though they had some sort of right to stand at my door or something. They don't have a right to stand at my door if I don't want them at my door. The door is a place of meeting. It's technically legal that no one belongs on your front door. However, the government has established that people can come to your door. So it's a little strange, which is one reason why people have fences and gates. I'm a big fan of fences and gates. I don't see anything wrong with that, but I don't have one here. But let's get going, as we're getting into Paul now. We're talking about how Paul is introducing himself as a servant or a minister. He's introducing himself as an apostle. He introduces himself as fully submitted. And he's very, very wise. And I wanted to talk about that for a moment as we get into the book of Romans, that Paul has established himself as a successful, humiliated child of Adam. And a lot of people don't identify what I just told you, and it's not good. We're not going to read the first chapter of the book of Romans without pointing out the fact that Mr. Paul is declaring himself to be a servant throughout his books, at the introduction of his books, and throughout the reading of his books, and he is demonstrating that. He is demonstrative. He's giving us examples in real time that he is indeed a servant. We like to quote Psalm 23 here a lot. The Lord is my shepherd, I have no want, I shall not want. Because the Lord's your shepherd. And then David proceeds to share with you how he is in complete submission. See, this is what makes Psalm 23 so powerful, is you're declaring perfect submission. The word perfect means complete. So you are declaring the fact that you are indeed in real time humiliating yourself before the Lord. And there's no bones about it, there's no equivocating. One of the best things I can hear from people who I fellowship, I just met a Christian brother who is a part of this team actually here when he's around, but he likes to speak a lot of living bread. And there's nothing like someone speaking soul food to you, because it is proof, it's verification that we have a winner on our hands. We have a soldier, we have someone who has realized and has acknowledged the things that they need to acknowledge in order for them to be successful. In other words, they're right on track. Paul is demonstrating in this book that he is on track. And let's get into some more. We left off on let's go back to 11. Romans chapter 1, verse 11. For I long to see you, that if I may impart unto you some spiritual gift, to the end that ye may be established. That is, that I may be comforted together with you by the mutual faith, both of you and me. Now I would not have you ignorant, brethren, that oftentimes I purposed to come unto you, but was let hitherto, that I might have some fruit among you also, even as among other Gentiles. So he's declaring that he is a homeboy of Israel, a Hebrew of Hebrews, and he's reaching out to people who are not Hebrews, Gentiles, and these are Romans, and he is going to tell them, essentially, of course, that he is the leader, he is the pastor, and he's in charge. But before he said he was in charge, he established the fact that he was in full submission to Jesus Christ. That he's already put on a mind of humiliation, because he said, for God is my witness whom I serve. See, you'll never get away from the word serve or servant. It is the key word in your Bible. And it became the key word after the fall of Adam. When the Adams family, of which we are all the Adams family, there's really no such thing as a race. A lot of people have told me that they acknowledge race, and that's very sad. I was watching a TV podcast or something here the other day, and one gentleman said that we people are like this and we people are like that. There's no such thing as we people. As a matter of fact, the first people that Hitler murdered, and we're not going to get into murder right now, but I had a docudrama on that, and I'm going to try to get that docudrama back again, whereby it's the same gentleman who was the wizard in The Wizard of Oz. He was a professor at the University of Berlin or somewhere, in Germany, and they murdered him because he taught the classroom that everybody's blood was the same. See, scientifically, there's no difference between human beings. There's only skin color and surface molecules, such as hair in the sun, or your skin in the sun, or Eskimos who get very little sun, or something like that. There are no clear defining differences between human beings. There's no such thing, and there's never been any such thing. That some people behave this way, and some people behave that way. It doesn't exist. And so to say that we're special because we're Hebrews is ignorant. And of course, Hitler had to kill these people because if he let them remain, they would be a voice that would divide his group. And I heard that the Muhammad leader also did very similar things in Saudi Arabia and so forth. So a lot of these people who are questionable characters, they will do things that solidify their state of being, you know, their power status and so forth. Every human being is on the same, in the same boat. So let's get going back to the lesson here. So he is a servant of the gospel of his son. Okay, so he's using all of his energy without stopping. He's going to keep praying for them too. So he is serving, and that servanthood is for God, who is his witness. He doesn't need anybody to see him work in the world. He knows that God is watching him, and that is his first responsibility. It's kind of like I was talking with a lady here, and she thought that men were off the hook. And there was one lady, a very nice lady, she said someone had took an advantage of her and hurt her. They were mean and so forth, and a lot of women don't understand that, or this, that men are accountable to the Lord, women are accountable to the men in general. And what happens is that a lot of women think that men are not accountable to the Lord. They think they can do what they want to do, and that the Lord's not going to supervise them properly. And this is why Bible study is so important, because a lot of these women, and not just women, but everybody, they need to understand that no one is without authority, and that authority is God. There is no person. That's why movies are dangerous, and a lot of music that's out there in the world is dangerous, because it teaches people that God is not in charge, and they'll do it in sneaky ways. You know, they'll with craft. You know, with pretending, or the word is feint in the Greek. You know, where you're pretending, but all you're doing is you're using your intellect to deceive someone. Feint means I'm pretending to want to be one of you. I'm pretending to do this. I'm pretending to do that. And there's a purpose in me pretending to do what I'm doing. I'm giving you the impression that my will is like your will. My desire is your desire, when that's not the case. When you talk to people, as a Bible teacher, I've been teaching for a while, and I've been in the church for a while, for many years. The Lord will reveal to you when someone comes to you and they're not on the same page you are. They come into the church with something that is not correct in their mind. Their cognitive stock, the things they believe in, the way they're approaching Christianity is completely wrong. And you can see it when you've been a Christian for a while. And it's a little uncomfortable because you're sensing rebellion. You're sensing that someone is not being sincere, and they join the team, but they're really not on the team. That's the point. The Christian team is there to love people and not love material things. But when you're around a bunch of people who say they go to a church and all they talk about is material things, then that makes you uncomfortable. Because you can't love God and material things. And they're sitting right in your face and they're telling you that they love material things and they go to church. So that's called bad news. That's really sad to see someone who tries to present the church life as a materialistic church life, and that's the way it should be. When it's clearly not that way. That is the opposite. So, let's continue with Paul here. Now, he's talking about imparting a spiritual gift. He's going to be comforted with mutual faith, which is the same thing he tells the next group in 2 Corinthians chapter 1. That he wants to be comforted together with other people who are in the same circumstances, that you have confidence even though there are some difficult circumstances. The word faith only comes to life when there's something to oppose your faith. The word faith comes to life when there is something that you need to be confident in that you don't have. Hebrews 11 is you don't have heaven. But there are other things that you're confident in besides heaven that you're expecting to come to you that you don't have. There are a lot of expects that you have. Right? What Paul's talking about here in the first chapter, the same thing he talked about in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, that he expects to meet with the brethren who are having very similar difficulties to him at the church of Corinth. Although he's not with them and his circumstances are different, they are both being challenged, and they're both sometimes wishing that it would stop, but it hasn't stopped. The opposition, the problems, the harassments. And when you get together with someone who is facing the same problems, then you have fellowship and you're on the same page. Quite often the Lord will arrange things to go in that fashion. He doesn't want me to do too well while I'm hanging around people who aren't doing well. And that will break off our communication. That's why God basically demands middle class or poverty for all Christians, and there's no escaping that fact. Those parameters cannot be, you can't bend those parameters. You can't do that. That's in stone for 2,000 years in Christ Church. Not Christ Church, New Zealand. I'm talking about Christ Church. So I might have some fruit among you refers back to the important part where he said a prosperous journey. So the fruit he's talking about is what he's focusing on is the building up and the planting and watering of these saints, the Christians in Rome. As he plants and waters people, that's his fruit that will remain. That will probably remain, and apparently it did remain. And that fruit is his. It's on his account based upon the grace of God and the yield to Father's ghost power. He yielded. We can see he's yielding right here when he says, whom I serve. It is he that I serve, not him. It is he. Who is it that you serve? It is he. That's why he used him, whom. Now let's get going. That is that I be comforted together with you by the mutual faith, both of you and me. So right here is very important because we're talking again. I'll mention it again. He's talking about confidence in some sort of situation. He's talking about confidence in the gospel, and that nothing is going to remove that confidence. Nothing's going to remove that love and faith that he owns, because faith worketh by love. So when he says comforted with you by the mutual faith, what he means is that faith is never without love when we're talking about Paul the Apostle. Those three do abide in him. So when he mentions the faith he has in the gospel, he's also saying in the love he has for the master. In other words, when he says the faith right here, mutual faith, he's talking about everything in the gospel. History, prophecy, we're going to heaven. He's confident in everything. He's not isolating being confident in a difficult circumstance right there. I am a debtor both to the Greeks and to the barbarians, both to the wise and to the unwise. So as much as in me is, I am ready to preach the gospel to you that are at Rome also. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. So Paul has power based upon him being a servant. It always goes back to servant again. Whom I serve. So the activity of serving is to build up the church in love and truth, and to give them gifts that are going to solidify them in their walk, so they don't go astray. The best thing to do for a plant is to dig deep roots down. That's the best thing you can do. And that's what he's doing here. That's what we're doing here. So he is a debtor both to the Greeks and to the barbarians. So he is a debtor, which means he is a bond slave. Paul calls himself a bond slave. We are all bond slaves. The reason why you're a bond slave is because Jesus Christ went to jail and bailed you out. He paid your fine that you couldn't pay. In other words, he took the pain that you were supposed to get, and he got you off scot-free. Your case was thrown out of court. However, when your case was thrown out of court, you belong to the person who tossed your case and exonerated you, who tossed your case out. That's why we have the song, Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. And by the way, you can go to Jeremiah Michael Pearson 2022 Music, and you can check out my music. I decided to put all of my music, or a lot of my music, up for people to listen to, and they're on video, so you can enjoy that and enjoy my music, my music is not straight gospel music per se at all. I get into a lot of, not worldly things, but I play music that is modern, and my dad used to look at me a little strange, but like I was joining the world. No, Paul said to become as some that you might save some. Now, my future music, the music I'm going to work on in the future, it will not be in that vernacular of, you know, wild creativity, you might say, and genres and so forth. It's going to be like one genre is going to be what we call monotonic. It's going to be something with heavy strings, and it's going to, there won't be any guitar solos or, you know, or anything that sounds fleshy at all. It's not going to be hymnal music, but it's going to be much more milder than what I put out. I put out some rock and roll-y kind of stuff, which I said I would never do, but I decided to do it anyway. A lot of people who are out there in the world, they're going to be attracted to it. And we're going to offer them a carrot and a candy and try to get them saved. That's what we do here. Right? But I will not get into any more jazzy kind of music, you know, rock and rolly, bluesy stuff again. The music I have planned for you is I won't go on to this into this forever, but I will just share this with you that it will be along the lines of Brazilian easy listening music. It's going to be, and I'm very happy with some of the projects here. It's going to be like bossa nova or samba, a little jazzy. It's going to be a lot of ballads and stuff, which is what a lot of hymns are. They're ballads. It's just that a ballad is considered something that is rhapsodic or something more towards romance with a man and a woman and so forth. But it is a very exciting time to stay busy and have lots of work and share music. I just put I played the piano for you on my rinky new piano, but we'll see what happens here. Let's get back to the lesson, Jermaine, here we're talking about here. So he's a debtor both to everyone. So he once again, Paul is so precise. He is such a wonderful Bible teacher. Now he's going into something else, and he bounces all over the place, where you can't really read him fast unless you're really quick in the mind. You know what I mean? Unless you have some sort of palpable intellectual receptivity or something. You're not going to get all of Paul. Yeah, really take your time. Just like he says, I am a debtor. We can talk about what a debtor is for 20 minutes. You know, how you owe everything to Christ, and when you work out there in the field, planting and watering like he's doing now, you have a workman attitude. He says, whom I serve. So he's thinking about his life as being a worker. That's the point. He has acknowledged in his mind that he is a worker, and the work's going to be difficult off and on, and he's committed to it. He's on the team, and he doesn't plan on leaving the team. And he's a wonderful example of someone who has been saved and forgiven on the road to Damascus, and he is devoted. And he's a living stone. You know, you're reading the life of a gentleman who is a living stone. You know, he was in the raw, boots on the ground. I'm going to serve because I love. That's what he's doing. I will do this work for the Romans and to help them and to plant them and water them, or to plant and water them, and nothing's going to get in my way. Things are uncomfortable. There's a party around the corner. I don't have time for either to think about either one of them. I'm not going to be offended because I missed this, and I'm not going to be ashamed because I'm in a low state. You know, I'm in the corner. He's gone. He's going. He's going. He's going. He's gone. You've got your eyes on a winner here when you look at Mr. Paul. This guy's a winner here. This guy is enumerating everything. He's loving the Lord his God with his mind, and that is one of the most impressive things about this gentleman. He is using his brain to keep track of every little nook and cranny, and he's not letting go. This guy keeps track of everything. As we might say here in America, this guy is a smoking intellectual. And we need to pay attention to this gentleman, which is what I'm doing now. We'll be right back with this will be part 4 of my new version of Romans. I already have another version. I have so many versions of Romans now, but this is a separate version. I don't need to enumerate it. It'll go probably under sound doctrine. Because Paul's all over the place here. Now we're going to get into I am a debtor to everyone. There's no one that he is not supposed to be ready to plant and water into the kingdom of eternal life. There's nobody that he's adverse to. And this goes back to what I mentioned earlier about race. Paul knows there's no such thing as a race. There's only the Adam's family. That's all there is. And he has this revelation, and he's running with it, along with the other friends of his, the brothers of his in Koinonia. That's James, Paul, James, Peter, and John. You can throw Jude in, but those are the guys who are going to help finish this New Testament, and they're all on the same page. They love everybody. Everybody's open for love here. And even though that may sound like a very minor accomplishment, it's not a minor accomplishment. It's huge. In America right now, they just came up with a race theory, which is absolutely unscientific. It's such a joke. Here's my point, is that it doesn't matter how many people out there are wrong. We're not going to get into how many people who are wrong and why they're wrong, because we're right, and we're going to enjoy being right. You understand that? We're going to enjoy being correct. Let's put it that way. I don't have that much time for people who want to go the wrong way. We want to help people going the wrong way, but we're really going to focus on the fact that we found the right way, and we found an avenue and a path to loving your neighbor, and we're going to stay on that path. That's the point. We're not going to get so much into learning evil over there and all. No, we found the love path. We found the goods. Let's enjoy them. That's the point. I was watching Fox News here last night and the gentleman just was ranting on about all the problems in the world. Well, we're glad that he has time to identify all the evils of the world. That's better than him running the streets. But as far as really getting into all the evils of the world, we in the church here, we Protestants, we really don't have time for it. And it doesn't mean these people are evil or they're doing something wrong. It's just that we don't have time for all the evils of the world. We'll be right back. Maranatha.